Just amazing. There's so many levels of amazement. What would you say is your inspiration? How do you do what you do every day and continue to do what you do? What really inspires you?
It gets my adrenaline flowing. I mean, it really, when I'm in a space and I have a project in front of me, I'm just totally consumed in it. It doesn't matter what's going on around me. I'm just totally engaged in whatever I'm doing. And it just lights me up.
Yeah.
Probably one of the, things about COVID is that I was doing so little of it, and it was just, I didn't have that outlet for creativity, which really does fuel me. And I've always been a creative person, but painting was nothing I ever did until I was in senior status. But I needed an outlet for something creative. So that does it for me most of the time. Sometimes a few projects are just very tedious and not creative, but that doesn't happen very frequently, luckily.
Nancy, would you say that your area of arts, like this special area that you deal in, was kind of shut down during COVID, or will you say it was more opened and presented more opportunities?
It was pretty shut down. Most people didn't want me in their homes. And I did do a job outside. I did a job on the side of a shed, and I think there was, 2 sheds. That was this woman, her husband died during COVID, and she was, it was in the beginning, it was probably last April, beginning of May. And it was awful for her because he was a veteran. They couldn't have any kind of a service. Things were really tight and shut down at that time.
Yeah,
she couldn't visit him in the hospital when he was really sick, but she had me do a mural on the side of their pool house shed, which was something that brought her peace, and it related to things that they were planning to do together. It was a beachy thing, and it meant a lot to her. To be there doing that. And I was outside doing it at the very beginning of this, which was a wonderful thing. I've got a job and I'm outside. What could be better? So that was, but for the most part, things were pretty shut down. People didn't want me in their house, and I didn't always feel comfortable. Some people, it happened a few times, but for the most time, it just didn't happen.
So I'm gonna have 2 different totally opposite direction questions I'm going to pose to you now that you haven't heard before right now. What would you recommend other artists to do at this time until every state is fully open? That's my first question, and I'll try to repeat them. And my second question is, how do you sit with the individual who's asking you to do what they're asking you to do? Like in this case, it was a bereaved wife who was asking you to create a memorial.
Right, that's what it was.
For their, for both of them. It wasn't even just for him, it was of their dreams together.
Right.
You can go in either direction, but you take this one piece at a time. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I have so limited, next to no experience with other artists, whether or not it's somebody that does murals or any other thing. I really don't know anybody, and I don't know how to answer that question.
It's just up to you. You don't have to know anybody. You
really
don't. So here's the thing, Nancy. Every artist is kind of on their own to figure it out and to find a way forward and to deal with their clients. And I know this as an individual artist who does photography and artwork and who's connected to other artists. But what if you had to make a recommendation? This is what it comes down to. The first question: if you had to make a recommendation to any of the leaders in this country, in your area, globally, whatever, about artists, and artisans, what would you recommend during this time of the pandemic? Given that you are an artist who you had specific work during the pandemic, but it was still limited.
It was but a lot of artists, I believe, you could correct me because your experience is greater than mine. A lot of them work more solitary anyway, either in a studio by themselves, sell things online. Mine has to be on site. So that's a little
That's
bit.
a problem. That's a problem. And I'm saying this because I guess this is the parallel that you have at this point in time. The Holy Spirit wants to draw out. You have to be on site, and that's kind of like artists within orchestra settings. You can do whatever you want online, but you're called to be there for live performances.
Right.
You're called to move the masses through live performances. And if your live performances have been shut down this whole time, how do you reinvigorate that and reopen or it's not even reinvigorate that, because these people are already ready to go, just like you're ready to go. How do people come to you? How are people called into you at this time as everything's being reopened?
Most of everything that I've done in the majority has always been word of mouth.
Yeah, and it's through relationship.
It's different now. Is other things like you're saying, the symphony, it's going to depend on who's comfortable under what situations. Even if it's open, some people are going to be comfortable going and other people won't. And, everybody's got to decide for themselves. I never got totally nervous. I'm 71, so definitely in the, the elderly category, but I'm very healthy. I am very healthy. And it did not freak me out. I spent a lot of time outdoors doing things and tried to keep my mind in a positive mindset. But if you're used to doing something indoors with other people, that's a lot tougher. And I don't know how the heck people handle that and able to support themselves in that situation.
But if you are truly spirit-led, just as you were to do the nursery, I mean, come on. If you're spirit-led, and I don't mean this in a negative way, because we know in the politics in this country, they've been taken in negative ways. You will have your supporters that were there before. You will have your supporters, no matter the industry, you will, in the arts, you will have your supporters, and they will continue to support you if they really love and care about the industry.
Right.
But then also you will have those people who call on you individually and ask more of you. Like, even in your case, this doctor asked more of you. They were like, okay, I need you to do my whole house. I need you to do 5 rooms here. I need you to do 4, whatever. Not my whole house, but I need you to do 4 or 5 rooms in the pediatric unit and then my house. Right? They went from 1 room. How many rooms did they have before?
The pediatric office?
Yeah.
The pediatric office, the one that I did 2 years ago.
The first one before she asked you to do her own.
The first one had 2 exam rooms and a waiting room. I did all 3 of those spaces.
So 3.
And then yes. And then last summer during COVID, I did 5 exam rooms, the hallway, which was probably about 40 feet long. And then a big waiting room. So.
And then her house. And then her house, like she invited you into her personal space.
I haven't been there yet, but right now, as you know, she's penciled me in for the 21st of this month to do her son's room. He wants whales everywhere, so.
And we are, so on record, we are fully supportive of Nancy doing the whales in this 5-year-old's room. The other reality is that God has multiple rooms for you.
You have what?
God has multiple rooms for you. This was a scripture passage that came up this past week. There is more than one room for you with God. There is more than one room. God has multiple rooms for you.
All right.
God has multiple rooms.
Well, when things were pretty shut down, and even before COVID, I mean, sometimes I'm not working much. I never know. It definitely has decreased through the years.
I know, Nancy,
there's
but
a
this is
point
not
to-
going
there's
to be
a
the
point
case.
to this. You know, decor style today is much simpler than it was 10 years ago, definitely more than 12 years ago, 20 years ago. All right. There's less clutter, there's less fussy stuff, clean lines. So I would say, Lord, if there is a detour here, please tell me what it is. Seriously. I mean, I wondered if I was supposed to go off on another path because I wasn't making enough to meet what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I just had to have faith that somehow something was going to open up somewhere. I was going to, but truly, how many times I said, if there's a detour, please let me know what it is. And I haven't seen the detour. I've just held faith that somehow it's going to pull me through. And right now, I'm still traveling.
So the mural on the wall behind you, Nancy, can you talk to people about that for a minute?
This is a bedroom that was son number 2's when he was growing. I have 3 boys. All right. Yeah. And this is a room that has 2 twin beds in it, and it's all messy, so I'm not going to let you see it.
That's okay.
But it's where my grandchildren generally they all live out of state. I have 6 6. I have 4 in Massachusetts and 2 in central New York. So when they come to visit, they bring all their stuff. So this is where 2 beds anyway, otherwise they're wherever. So the kids are here, and I wanted it to be something that they would like, but this is where my computer is. So yeah. I wanted it to be something that I would like, because I spent enough time in here, because this is where my computer is. Yeah. It's a regular, desktop computer. So I created 3 figures here. The teddy bear that you can see represents son number 2. He was a teddy bear lover. Ryan was
symbolism, people, symbolism. Okay, it's not just random.
There you can see a turtle. There's the turtle. That's Ryan. All right, he's my outdoorsman. And then, can I do that? Curious George is over here. My oldest, who is now 45, he was a big Curious George fan. So I don't know how to move this, so I guess it's not going to happen. So that's so when I come in here, I see my kids.
Yeah.
And then I am around the corner here. It's a bunny that's about 3 feet tall, dressed in a red dress, a sunbonnet, and holding flowers, because I'm the gardener. So when I come into this room, that bunny, it's me, but I'm the gardener. So the 4 of us are in this room together, even though my kids live 300 to 400 miles away.
So total symbolism present in a room. And so the other thing that I know that Nancy doesn't know this about me, and most of the people that are watching this don't know this. When I was growing up with my mother, and I lived for her for a very small amount of time, she was in Florida, and I have an uncle who is there, and he had this beautiful, what do you want to call it? Beautiful place. Some people would call it a mansion. Other people would call it, I don't know what, like a farmstead. I don't know what they would call it. I would say it's a mansion with a plantation, but he didn't own slaves, like it's hard to describe. But he had murals on his walls. He had murals of Italy and the countryside of Italy on his walls. So when I met you, and when I realized what you did, I was like, this is, it speaks to me. It is a speakable truth. Like there is symbolism in every detail that you do in these rooms, in these spaces. You transform rooms from being plain walls to being a beautiful, inviting space, comforting, warming space for people to actually dwell and live in, to be who God has created them to be. And I'm saying that as someone who now, like back then, I had no idea who God was calling me to be. Are you kidding me? Like at 3 to 7, I had no idea. Like I knew I was a girl. Yes. I knew I loved caterpillars and butterflies. Yes. I knew I hated snakes and ants. Okay. I knew what I did not like. I knew what I liked. Right. Did I have any idea I would be doing what I do on the Catholic, with the Catholic Church on the level that I did it? No. Did I have any idea that I would be doing consultations with Vatican or Italy? No, I did not. I had no idea. But all of these things spoke to me, and all of these things opened my heart, and all of these things gave a deeper level of truth to me. So it's not just, it's not just you going in and painting, like some people will see it as, okay, this artist is coming in and they're painting things on the wall and we're making our nursery or gallery or whatever look cute. It's not it. There's a deeper, and I'm not saying this to critique, doctors or anything. There's a totally deeper level to this. There is meaning behind everything that you create. There's a reason why you're creating what you're creating. There's an emotion and a feeling that you bring to it, everything that you're doing. Like even on the example of your own wall, like there's anything you want to add? Because I just spoke a lot.
I made 2 men cry.
I know.
So both of them were because they were gifts. One was a Father's Day present from his daughter, and I did a space in the basement for his poker friends. Well, I mean, he had a poker table and he would play poker once a month or once a week. I don't know what it is, but I painted the space around it with dice and Las Vegas and straight flush or whatever and jumbo cards. And I was there when he came home from work. It was his adult daughter that had me do it. It was a surprise Father's Day present.
Yeah.
The other one was a surprise as well. And maybe there were even 3. They were sports lockers. He was a lacrosse player. I mean, for fun. I don't think he never played professionally. And his 2 kids also like to play lacrosse. So they went to Hershey Park for the weekend. His wife gave me the keys to the house, and I painted lockers on the wall with his name on the jersey and his kids' names on the jersey, and put the sticks and all this equipment and stuff painted on the wall. And she sent me a picture of him crying when he came home and saw this wall.
Like it's more than just artwork. I think that's one of the other points here. Like it's so much more in depth than just that. It's not just a piece of artwork. It's not just a mural. It's not just whatever somebody tells you to put on the wall. Like even if they give you guidelines about what they want on the wall, the Holy Spirit is moving through you. And the Holy Spirit that's moving through you is painting that on that wall. There's like a whole other level of God present in that.
Here's another level. There have been a number of times when I have literally had an idea of what I was going to be doing in the next 30 seconds. And I pick up my paintbrush and do what I was thinking I was going to do. And my hand did something totally different, which was not what I was thinking.
Okay, so explain that a little bit.
Better than what I had thought about it. And I literally say, that was you, wasn't it?
Explain that a little bit. Somebody else
moved my hand. It was not coming from my brain to tell my hand to do it. it was something different. And
Yeah,
I
can
know there was an interception of whatever was going on to put that paint on the wall.
Can you give us an example of something that you thought you were going to actually paint on the wall? Like an image, or no?
Ask me that
I'm
question
asking
again.
you a lot. I'm asking you a lot.
All right,
So,
ask me that. I'm sorry, I wasn't tuned in.
that's okay. Can you give us an example of something that you were going to paint on that wall that you thought was the image that was going to be painted on that wall, or somebody told you to paint on that wall and you ended up with something different?
No, I can't. And it wasn't so much the image itself. It was just the shading of it, or just the different, I don't know. It's just something that I didn't know I could do. You know, my hand did something different that I didn't even know. Even this is a minor thing, but it wasn't. Just this past week, I had to touch up a 7-foot statue of a chef. It was outside of a restaurant and it was weathered, and it was a new owner to this restaurant. And this big, it was a typical, Italian looking mustache, chef's hat, apron around his waist. But it had faded. It had been outside. The sun was, and he wanted me to touch it up.
Yeah, so is this in Baltimore?
Yeah. Just out.
All right.
And I had done some things in the restaurant the day before. So I got to see what this thing looked like, but I had to take outdoor paint with me, which I don't normally have, so that morning I was getting all my supplies, and it's like, I get there and I thought, oh, I forgot about skin color. I don't have any outdoor paint that's skin color. And I'm looking at it thinking, what in the world am I going to do? Well, I had this rusty color on my tray for something else that I forgot what part I did. Maybe I was putting it in his hair or something. I just mixed it with white and I had skin color. When I put it on that guy's cheeks, it was perfect. It's like, are you kidding me? I didn't know it was a rusty color. And I mixed it with white just because I was at a standstill. Like, what am I going to do for skin color? Because this one cheek was very, I don't know, I guess it was the sun. It was just all funky color and spotted, and there was that color. It was perfect. The owner came out and said, wow, this looks great. Yes, it does.
Yeah. And so Nancy is referring to skin color of Italians because it is an Italian restaurant. But the Holy Spirit also moves through all other skin colors.
Yeah.
Would still be inspired. She has all the other skin colors.
Well, this one I couldn't. And his hands, his hands and his cheeks. I mean, his face and his hands had to be touched up. His feet had big black boots on. So
Nancy, tell us what it is that helps you or inspires you to do what you do every day and to continue what you do, all that you do.
I need to be creative. I do. When I was a kid, like 11 and 12, I sewed doll clothes and set up a stand on a table on the street and sold doll clothes and furniture made out of cereal boxes and tuna fish cans. All right.
She was creative. She was creative. I wouldn't do that, but she would.
I sewed everything that I wore. I made coats. I made my wedding gown. I made all my clothes. I need a creative outlet, and this is the new one. It's a new phase of my life in comparison to the rest of the previous years. So I need to do that, but I also need to earn an income because Social Security, especially after being a stay-at-home mom for 14 years, doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
So luckily I'm healthy, I'm active, I belong to a gym, I have an online personal trainer, and I stay
Okay.
active, and I need to
Oh,
keep going,
Nancy.
because when you stop going, you really slow down, and I don't want to do, and I'm an active gardener. So I've been outside digging, and I've been raking and planting, and so I need to stay active, and I need a creative outlet. Luckily, this one creates an income if I've got the clients at the time.
So Nancy is super creative and she is super active. I can tell you that because she's the one who's like, okay, let me take you to the multiple churches. I was like, okay, if you really want to, I'm happy to say yes to that.
They were amazing churches. I took my son to all three of those places the next year. I mean, he lives in Buffalo now, and he actually bought a church a number of years ago, and it has been, that's another whole story you could save for another time. I don't think we need to go into that now, but you'd be interested in knowing what happened to this church that he bought.
I know that when we met, he had bought the church. That's all I know. I don't know what happened after that.
It's about to become very famous.
Yeah.
Because he started a nonprofit program for the unskilled and unemployed and in the trades, and it happens within the structure of this gutted church. Yeah, it's amazing. It's getting an award this week, written up. I'm not sure where it's coming from. He just mentioned it to me the other day. But anyhow,
you'll have to let me know, Nancy, because I'll share it.
He does have an architecture degree, and I knew, and he hadn't been to those churches, so we went together. And then we hit another couple. He got on the phone. We went to a Lovely Lane. It's amazing. It's like from 1880 or something. It's amazing. Lutheran, might be Lutheran. Went to another one that was Lutheran, very German. So we made church rounds one day. It was fascinating.
If there was one challenge you would say that you have right now, what would it be? And you can get this on any level you want. So we, as the foundation that we are, we speak to different businesses, we speak to the arts, we speak to women specifically, we speak to youth, whatever area you want. What is one challenge you feel you are facing right now, and how are you working to overcome it?
My biggest challenge, it definitely is financial.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, I'm an optimistic, happy person. I have a couple wonderful friends. We do a lot of things together. They always have to be cheap or free, but and my kids are all doing well. My grandchildren are doing well. I'm grounded where I am in this neighborhood. It's the financial thing that freaks me out. And what I'm doing about it is I pray. And
Nancy, you still live in the Baltimore area?
Yeah.
In Maryland. I'll say in Maryland, the state of Maryland.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And so you think that's the one area you're challenged most in, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I don't have any, I'm really very
You're really healthy. You're like ready to go every time I see you. You're like, here we go.
I've been
Your
hiking.
energy is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
So no, it's financial, definitely. But as a couple of years ago, I had one of my grandchildren with me, and whatever came up about doing some activity, I said, no, I don't have the money right now to do that. And she says, well, no, why don't you get another job? Or a different job.
What'd
and
you
I
say?
said, I probably could, but then I wouldn't be happy.
Yeah. So there's two questions, but I'll ask you the first one first. How do you feel that happiness weighs on finances or not? What is the link between those two?
I can be happy on a little, really. I mean, I don't need much to make me happy. but whatever the much is, I mean, I can really get by on very little, but if you don't have basics or you don't know, I mean,
Yeah.
that's definitely something that can stress you out no matter where you are in life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had a magic wand right now and you were the fairy godmother of Baltimore or Maryland,
Okay.
what would Maryland and Baltimore look like right now?
Ooh.
Or post-pandemic, because we know we have the pandemic that can throw in a curveball. Fine.
I would like
The
people
curveball.
if you
If you were fairy godmother,
yes.
what would it look like right now? Or in the next 3 months? Forget the pandemic. Pretend the pandemic isn't there.
I would like to see more kindness,
Okay.
generally speaking. I see kindness in my close circle, but when I'm experiencing what I see on the news or what I read and for, local Facebook posts in different neighborhoods and stuff, it's like, are you kidding me? How can people behave like that? It just floors me. And I can't help but think that a lot of it is because there are fewer people attending church or really, behaving Christian behavior, that and the crime that is definitely prevalent, and the disrespect for public property, for personal property, that is something that should be easy to fix.
Okay,
People just change their mindset.
Yeah, I'm gonna debunk this a little bit because it's important that I do. So even if you or anybody else removes the Christian factor, forget Christianity. Say Christianity wasn't even in this city or in the state of Maryland. I don't know. Say it wasn't there. What would your fairy godmother wand wave? What would you change? Say faith is not one of those things. Let's play devil's advocate. I know, but just say like you're the fairy godmother and all these people are here. Every single person is made in the image and likeness of God, no matter who they are. Every single person is made in the image and likeness of God. What would I grant them? What would I give them?
Confidence and love. Confidence that they can do what is within them, and love to share.
How do you think that would change the crime rate? I'm asking you like the deepest. I've never asked these questions before, but I'm going to go with that. Okay.
Well, obviously it would make a big difference. I mean, you said how it would,
Yeah.
Yes, it would change. Certainly it would change.
Yeah,
But,
because a lot of crime has to do with hatred, jealousy, envy, disregard, disrespect, disempowerment, I don't know what else, but hatred, crime has a lot to do with those things. Injustice, poverty, discrimination, lack of reconciliation. There are so many areas. If we waved a magic wand, we would want all those to be gone. And love to be present and overflow. Like that is what Christ is about, clearly, that we've talked about multiple times. God is love. That's who God is. There's no negating that. There's no taking away from that. There's no changing that. There's no undermining that. There's no lack of consideration for that. That's who God is. It does not matter. Does not matter. All the other anything does not matter. What matters most is how we live that out in our everyday lives. And I know that you already know this because you already showed that to me. That's how I know that you already know this. You didn't care who I was in that church. You didn't care about my past. You didn't care about the horrible things I had gone through. You didn't care about how many children I had. You didn't care whether I was married or divorced. You didn't care about whatever my sexual identity was, right? Which I didn't even bring up to you. You know what I mean? Like it was not about any of those things.
No limit. No.
You didn't know if I was a gangster or not. Like you, although I probably didn't look like a gangster.
We
Which
met
I
in
clearly
church.
am not, but
We met in church. There must be something good in there.
But you know what I mean? Like there was a point where you're like, okay, this is what she's all about. Let's go take her to these churches. If we could make a magic wand and wave it, this is what it would look like. It sounds to me like you would want people to be healed. Like you want them to be loved.
Yeah.
But to be loved, they have to be healed in some way because you see crime present there and a bunch of other stuff present there. I don't know.
Well, we have to get rid of hunger and homelessness and
poverty. Like poverty is one of the biggest things. You brought that up in this video too. Like there's this whole aspect of people should not actually have to worry about money. That is a whole point in all of this. And I don't just mean this in the United States, which is one of the richest countries in the world. But within the whole globe, God did not create money for people to be worried about it. You know, there's no way. God created everything for our good. God does not create things for our bad. God is anti-bad. You know, like this shouldn't even have to be a worry, especially, and I haven't said this in a video before, but I'm happy to say it now. God does not want us to worry and does not put that on us, especially in a first world country, about finances. When in first world countries, we are literally called to share our finances with other countries. There is no reason why people in this country should be worried about their finances. And I'm not discounting your worry at all. I'm saying that because political leaders need to step up to the plate and actually do their job. And they could say whatever to me tomorrow and I would still stand by this. I swear to God. And they will know it. That is the truth. Like there is no reason why in a first world country, when we are super developed and super over the top with everything, that we should be worried about our finances. Any individual in this country, let alone individuals in any other country when we have their back, or any individual in any other country when they are suffering right now in the middle of a pandemic. They should know that we have them covered. They should know that we're going to step up to the plate. They should know that we have them, just like God has them. There's a whole like, and this is just one piece of the Baltimore, like, give me a minute and I'll think of it. I'm going to say the Baltimore atmosphere. There's a level that's really smooth. And then there's a level that's full of crime. And all those people full of crime, they should already have the acceptance into the smooth. They shouldn't even have to turn to crime to solve their problem. They should already have the pathway cleared for them to turn to the good and away from crime. And that's in a first world country. That's not even in a country where ISIS or other terrorist groups are fully present. I mean, we have ISIS present. You know what I mean? Like there's a point where it's like, wake up. You, as a first world country, you have to make the change. You don't have a choice. And your own people should not be suffering any more, and you should be giving more to other countries, and they should not be suffering. And I know I'm speaking a lot. That means I should shut up.
A lot in their own country that are suffering.
There are, but the other point is, like, in this pandemic, what needs to be recognized, and this is one of the major things, because you are in Baltimore, and this will be brought up, I know, throughout the week with people in Baltimore. I just know it. I'm going to end up saying stuff that is totally not, things that I would say, but nothing I've ever said before. In a first world country, these should not even be worries or concerns. These should have been solved long ago, and they were never solved. This should not even be a question anymore.
True.
And so, since it needs to be solved now, it needs to be solved now. And you need to go the extra level and take it to the third world countries and all the underdeveloped countries. It's not just about us. So, like, this, and I'll speak to last year too. Like, and I've said this to different people too, like, we were, so through the Civil War, we worked through slavery. Supposedly, we worked through slavery, right? But we didn't work through racism, so we're still dealing with racism on every single level. Well, back then during the Civil War, we should have worked through both, and we didn't. And so now we still have racism present. So how are we dealing with that and overcoming that, and also being an example to the rest of the world on how to end racism, since we failed to actually achieve an end to racism when we ended slavery? There's like a whole, it's the same thing with the pandemic right now and what you just spoke of. It's this whole economic craziness where there was this shift where there was nothing economically, and many people in this country went through it, and many people died from it, which still hasn't been acknowledged. People have died from COVID, yes, but people have also died from poverty in this country during this time, and it has not been acknowledged. And yet we're a first world country that is supposed to be speaking to other countries and saying, how do we do this? This is what we do to overcome it. It is about the arts, but but it's so much deeper. It's like, what your own concerns show that, your own worries show that, and that shouldn't even have to be a worry. You as an artist in this country shouldn't have to worry about where your income is coming from. And your biggest worry right now should be, where can I give my money to, and what is the best place to allocate that money? Because you are in a first world country. And that's not on you. That's on all the leaders that have failed to do their job. It's not fair. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to all the other people and the rest of the world. It's not, Nancy. It's not. And I know this isn't like what you foresaw at all.
And there's no way to argue
You're
that.
like, oh my God.
True, but who can do what about it?
They can do. The other point is, like, this is why I'm asking you to state what your truth is there, because the politicians there, they can do something. They may feel like they can't, but that's their naivety. That's what it is. That's their lack of confidence. They can do what God is calling them to do. They can step up to the plate in any place in this country, in any place in the globe. It's their confidence and their, belief and trust in an almighty, powerful being beyond themselves that can really bring them to that level to know that what they provide for other people will be given back to them, or that God is already blessing them in abundance. There's a whole mind shift that has to happen. Some of it has happened, but some of it has not, and they need to change it. Hogan has, like, his mindset. I'll speak to Hogan. Hogan, thank you for you. Hogan has changed over the last 2 to 3 years. When I was in Baltimore, he did not support the arts. He was anti-Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. I've seen him totally do a roundabout. I am serious. Roundabout. Now supporting the arts, caring about the arts, advocating for the arts, advocating for all the people in Baltimore. Total change. Total change.
Guess that's good news.
Yeah. So, and that should be present throughout the whole world, not just with Hogan, not just in the United States, not just in this one little pocket. It should be present throughout. And that's despite the pandemic. Above all people, I thought Hogan would be like, oh, we're closing everything. We're not giving funding to anything. No, he went the total opposite direction. He was like, we will fund this. We will find funding for this. We will do this. We will support that. He totally blossomed and opened up. And he's just one person out of millions of people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing what people have gone through and how they've changed and how they've grown. How they're inspired, even in your case, how you're inspired to do the work that you do. Who has reached out, who has cared, who has shown that you have value and worth. It's just amazing.